Hello, my name is Alvaro Zuniga, and I'm going to talk about the speaking skill for now. Okay, so we have the communicative language teaching CLT, which is also the biggest approach during the last 2 decades. However, it's becoming dangerous, according to some people, because they're saying that communicative approach or the communicative language teaching is the best way, and since there is no authority, you might go to a danger extreme when everything is communication, but there's no listening or reading or writing. So either way, it's a very unique approach, but with no real substance. However, Michael Swam, 1985, he critiques that. He's a critic, and critiques this information. Edith Spadham, 1990, she says that she found limited opportunities in communicating. My Dow and Sean says that speaking it might be taken undervalued or granted. Now, also, we have to consider the bigger classrooms that we have right now, which also it's something to have in consideration. And also the idea that we're facing internet globalization, we're living in a global village, and their people are willing to speak more and are forced maybe to have better interaction, especially those students who have the opportunity. Now, McDowell also expressed that expressing, we talk or we speak because we want to express ideas, we want to express wishes, we need to negotiating, we need to establish also social relationships. And as an interactive approach, speaking is probably the most interactive. However, it requires conveying, it requires decoding, and requires encoding, conveying, and decoding. This is by Barnes, 1986. Newham says that successful communications uses good listening skill. So communicating, it also requires that the person listens. There is a complexity also because people use very little subordination, a lot of passive logical connectors, structure replacing expressions. Either way, it's a very open way. However, this is still very encoding. Now, according to this analysis for turn taking or conversation analysis by Duncan, conversations are highly organized. And then that is one of the biggest tricks because we have an open field, but is organized. So you can't just speak about everything. Implications in the classroom, we have the authenticity. In other words, how we approach as teachers, how much time we spend speaking in English in the classroom, and if we use filters such as well, you know what I mean, etc. So that is very important. Then teaching English in the classroom is a source of learning, definitely. McGregor 1936 talks about the Gestalt strategy, and Rollo Tapia talks about the moderate use of language one. Finally, the interaction teacher-student is also important. Sinclair talks about communication opportunities, the opportunity to give the students to free talk. Richard Cullen talks about choice of content, grouping, that is also important, and we're going to see in the activity. Barn 1986, increasing practical opportunities to improve the promotion. I think that's the best way when you interact and you promote the students to speak and to communicate their ideas. That is a very good idea. And then Ellis 1984 says the more opportunities, the greater the variety of the language. So in other words, the more you speak, the better you will become at the language. Finally, we have some topic-based activities that are very, very common: dialogues, problem solving, debates, discussion, communication, game, storytelling, Q&A that we're going to use on the example, simulations, and plays. Thank you. Hello again. We're going to present the class development, how we're going to give this class. And based on the presentation, we have vacations and weather. So the first thing to do will be to do a preparation with Q&As with 5 minutes. This preparation depends on the level of the class and, of course, the level of knowledge of the students. For example, before talking about vacations or weather, we can talk about names of countries, capitals, famous cities, especially these landmarks that we have right here: the Eiffel Tower, the Tower of Pizza, New York Statue of Liberty, etc. So we can use these iconic places to talk about things. Then we can continue with presenting the vocabulary. Okay, we can continue presenting our vocabulary. For example, our first thing we have here in the vocabulary has to do with weather conditions. So we can spend 5 minutes talking about introducing this vocabulary because we want them to speak, we want them to use this vocabulary. And obviously, we have this probably presented here with handouts or on screen, or here online, we present this picture with all these icons. This will take us again another 5 minutes. So up until this point, we have 10 minutes of practice. Next, we talk about vocabulary weather conditions. And then I would assume to talk about, I would jump and use these again, this vocabulary thing for outdoor activities. Because even though at this point students might be able to guess and assume some outdoor activities, I think it is important also to to reinforce this knowledge and to go back to this knowledge. Okay. All right, so then after we have this presentation, which is already 5 or 10, probably 10 minutes, 12 minutes, almost maybe up into 15 minutes, we can talk about the presentation of the places. At this point, I would try to put the groups in groups, maybe pairs, trios, depends, especially in a live class. In an online class, maybe this will be different. But in a live class, we have a group discussion of 5 minutes. Okay, but obviously for that we already presented these things. For example, Mykonos in Greece. I show them all of them, right? Lapland, Finland, Chicago, London, San Cristobal de las Casas, Mexico. So they have all of these pictures. They already know what some of the places that we have here. But then the idea here is that I need this group to discuss these questions, the first questions that you have here. These questions, for example, what's the weather like in these places? What can you do? What can you not do? Sort of like can't, or can do, etc. But after these setting up or warming up the groups, we go to teamwork activity, which is what I really want to do. And then I would do a simulation, 2 simulations. The first one, a travel agency dialogue, where students sort of like go to and ask them, which place should I go if I want to do this? Can I do this? Can I do that? Or can you do sort of like those things that you can do, those like travel activities? They will write down a dialogue as quick as they can using 5 minutes, very short. If they're advanced, maybe cues, but if they're learning starters, can't, using can't or using simple questions. No, there is, there are, will I, maybe will, yeah, those things. Then after that, bring these teams in front so they can present this dialogue, because I think writing, integrating skills is important. So we bring these students back into the front of the classroom, and then we go to a simulation 2, which is a surprise destiny, sort of like an activity where students guess in teams which cities are they based their activities on. For example, you give handouts and the students have these small papers, and they can be in Greece, they can be in Athens, they can be in these cities, Finland, they can be in San Cristobal, Chicago, etc. And then they discuss, for example, hey, can you do this? Can I go this? Will I do this? The weather is hot, the weather is warm, the weather is good. So they can do those activities. And finally, closing these activities, I think we'll go back again to the group where they discuss which activities, uh, going back to the groups and discussing which places they would like to go, which are their favorite places, and closing that up. Like, my favorite place is this because of this, because of that, or I like this place, I don't like this place, and that will be a nice conclusion. Okay, thank you.